Benny's sports ambitions came to an end when he was accidentally hit by a javelin at the age of 12 on the sports day, damaging his spine. His parents' expectations of him of becoming a scientist came to an end at age 15 when he was asked to leave KV, Kendriya Vidyalaya. And he was going to create history by being the first ever failure in school. So he technically is a 10th standard dropout. But in 2006, he was facilitated by the ISRO chairman Shri G. Madhavan Nair as one among the 10 stalwarts on the school for their 25th Silver Jubilee celebration. Benny and his wife, Zanbeni, along with 10 others, work, listen to this, as waiters in Chai 316 in Bangalore, an organization that they founded. Please put your hand together and welcome Dr. Benny Prasad.
It's more humbling for me to be here in Hyderabad because my parents are originally from Andhra Pradesh, and our vacation used to be, and it was the worst vacation of my life every year because my family lives on comparison, and comparison steals the joy of your life. I failed in my 10th standard because the educational system in India was not up to my standard. But it was up to my parents' expectations, so I had to go. The worst season was when my cousins and everyone would gather together. I have a cousin who has memorized the entire train timetable of India. And here, my father would sit and say, so Benny, what is your talent and gifting? And so my gifting was, why do you want to memorize the train timetable when it is there in the form of a book? And secondly, how can you really guess when the train really arrives on time and what time? And it makes no sense. But I was considered the black sheep of the family because my questions were always black. And it was tough. And that was my childhood when I grew up. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned today is that humility and excellence are like twin sisters. When you reach at a certain point of excellence and fame, humility slowly goes off. Now this man, his name is Mr. Young Vivian. Now what I'm going to do today is something that I've never done before, is I'm going to share stories from 7 continents. So I call it a slice of pie from 7 continents. And this man is from a country called Niue. He's the premier there. He was telling me, Benny, when I grew up as a child, I was the one who used to ring the bell at 5 o'clock in the morning. My father is a pastor, and now he is the premier of the nation of Niue in South Pacific. And he says, I still go and ring the bell at 5 o'clock in the morning because it keeps my humility in place, lest I forget from where I started, and then I can become proud. So I just want to tell you, find those places which keeps you grounded, which keeps you humble. And for me, I keep sharing my testimony over and over again because it reminds me from where I came from. It reminds me where I belong to and how Jesus picked me from that place and he brought me to the place where I'm at. You know, when I started to play the guitar at the age of 19, it was a great opportunity. And I was the best guitarist among 30 people in YWAM because none of them played the guitar. So it is wonderful to be the best guitarist. So I just had this great thing. People wrote Guitar King. All kinds of posters came up. And you start believing in those things because there's no competition there. The next thing, I go to New Zealand as part of the School of Event Management that I was doing. And I was expecting to go and perform on this big stage called the Parachute Festival. The next thing I do is they put me as security. And it was so humbling and humiliating on the inside. As an artist, you have to be on the stage. At least they should have put me security next to the stage, but they put me at the front gate where I can't even see any of the performance. But out of that birthed my identity is not as a musician. It was tough, but I want to tell you, learn to love humility. And C.S. Lewis says, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it is thinking of yourself less. Now, Proverbs chapter 19, verse 21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." And I'll tell you, we can have excellence without purpose. This is the story of that. In 2006, I was invited to play at the FIFA World Cup in Germany on different stages, on the cultural stages. And one of them was this stage in Iserlohn. I had designed a 54-string guitar. It was the highest number of strings on a guitar ever. But this story is the same like the Titanic ship. It never made one single journey. I did this thinking that I could prove to the world who I was. I thought, okay, the first bongo guitar, God helped me to design. But this one, I'm going to design with my own strength. Told the world that I want to glorify Jesus with this. But heart of hearts, I wanted to make myself known. It was challenging. And I wanted to prove to the world from nothing God brought me to this place. And here I wanted to prove myself bigger than God of what He has done in my life. It was a disaster. Only 6 strings worked out of 54 strings. The first day I finished performing, they said, great. Second day, third day, and finally they said, Benny, when are we going to hear the other strings? It was embarrassing and humiliating, but I repented and I said, God, I'm sorry. Out of that broken experience came the 20-string guitar, and that's the guitar that I normally travel with. Now, coming again, purpose in brokenness. You know, there's great purpose in success, but what about purpose in brokenness? Now, this is my world map of my travels, of how I travel to every country in the world. And for those who have not seen, this is my one passport, and it's a combination of about 15 books inside. My favorite part is to say that when the immigration officer looks at this passport and he says, sir, please don't come as a family, come one person at a time. And then I tell them that I am this one person. This is all great, but I'll tell you, it came out of brokenness. I went to the US in 1999 to do my School of Music and Missions. It was great. It was a wonderful experience, and then you start dreaming the American dream. And many times we think that we have to go and settle in the US in order for God to fulfill big dreams. And I was invited by the school to do a 2-year program and be their staff and then continue. And it was just great. I said, thank you, Jesus. You have a master plan for me. And now the organization has asked me to come and stay there. I was ready to give up everything for this dream. And I had faithfully come back to India after my trip. So I was faithful with these visa regulations. I had an official letter. Everything was great. I didn't even have to pray and ask God because it seemed like a great plan from God. Go to America. Why do you need to hear God's voice? Sometimes that's how we think. And I went and I applied for visa in Chennai. They rejected the first time. I was so disappointed, and I gave them a second chance thinking the embassy did not hear the voice of God properly. So I gave them a second chance. Second time they rejected. All my hopes and everything was completely smashed. I went back to Jesus this time. I said, God, I thought your plan was for me to go to America. That is what I thought. And then I came empty sheet and I said, God, what is your plan for my life? He says, Benny, my plan for you is to travel to every single country on this earth. Had I gone with that American visa, I would have surely settled there. But see how big God's plan is. That He wanted me to go to every country. My human intellectual mind could never imagine traveling to every country. And here God says, I want you to travel to every country. And the next year, when I applied for US visa, I applied for 1 day to go to Puerto Rico. And the guy said, oh, I don't want to see your face for the next 10 years. And he gives me another 10-year visa. And it just goes on with those things and visas after visas after visas. But I'll tell you, God has a big plan for our lives. And that plan can be also revealed in the midst of brokenness and pain. So always understand the purpose of God for our lives in the midst of challenges that we face. And I thank God my visa was rejected in 2002. Because of that, I found my purpose, that He called me to travel to every single country. And on 22nd of November 2010, I arrived in Pakistan, my last country at the time, and I broke 6 world records, and one of them is I became the fastest man in the world to travel to every country in the shortest time. Now, having done this, there were challenges of integrity in the terms of travels. Like some of you know, the first time I went to Russia, 2002, I was deported back because I failed to pay $50 as a fine, not as a fine, as a gift for the immigration. The Nigerian visa was a challenge. You know, standing up against corruption can be costly, but that's not an excuse to compromise. Standing up against corruption can be costly, but that's not an excuse to compromise. You know, which is cheaper, 18,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees? I had applied for Nigerian visa. I found out what the cost was. And, you know, the visa cost is about 14,000 rupees. I paid it online. I called the travel agent. I said, how much does it cost? They said, 18,000 rupees. I said, why 18,000 rupees? They said 14,000 is the visa fees. 1,000 rupees is what we would take for travel agent fee. And 4,000 rupees is a bribe called admin fee without a receipt. So I called the embassy and I said, this is the problem. Can I send my friend to apply? They said, no, there's only two ways. One, either you come in person or you send it through a travel agent. A travel agent, 4,000 rupees extra, which is a bribe. The only option was for me to fly. The last minute ticket from Mumbai to Delhi to Bangalore was 18,000 rupees. What is cheaper, 4,000 rupees or 18,000 rupees? And God helped me. And well, this is a picture from Nigeria, actually. And He gave me the strength to spend that extra money and fly to Delhi and get that visa. And I want to tell you, if we all will not compromise, even if it means spending that extra money, how different our country would be. We need to have purpose, but we need to have integrity in our purpose. Very important, integrity in our purpose. Now, Ecuador. See, your purpose has to be intentional. Now, this was in a place called Ecuador, which is one of the countries, and this place is called Mitad del Mundo, which means center of the earth, or middle of the earth, or equator. It was a great opportunity to be there where the latitude was 0 degrees. Then I went to see this performance. It was great, and they were amazing. And the next thing, I get an opportunity to be on the stage to perform there. But they said that we just want your music and nothing else. For me, Jesus rescued me when I was 16 at the point of committing suicide. How can I keep it secret? I finished playing a song. Then they came and said, can you play another song? Now I wanted to be intentional with my purpose. I said, for me to play another song, I need to introduce the song. They said, that's not a problem. So I introduced the song, shared a bit of my journey, and I said, the song that I'm going to play is called My Jesus, My Savior, Lord, There Is None Like You. Now, I'm not preaching, I'm just telling you the name of the song. And the name of the song brought out of a God whom I believed in. Moving on, Antarctica. It is challenging when you have to go to Antarctica and you ask the purpose, why should I go to Antarctica and what do I do? It took me 69 hours of flying time from India to Antarctica and back. The temperature there can go down up to minus 60 degrees Celsius. I have 40% lungs left at the time. Rheumatoid arthritis, a broken back. You can name it why I should not go there. I went. It was a great opportunity. So cold, I will never go back again. And got to see the penguins. It was great. But again, the thing comes is your purpose. I was able to perform a concert for the scientists there. Still, what is your purpose? The purpose was this guy standing next to me. He's a cook. He said, I was going through depression, being in this place, cold, away from my family, completely secluded. And your testimony brought back meaning to life. And he said, this was so helpful for me that you just came for me so that I would choose to live and not kill myself. You never know who is watching you. You never know which direction people are listening to you. How carefully are they watching? I just want to tell you, a pulpit is an easy way to share. But your lifestyle matters. That's where your purpose, integrity, and excellence has to be exhibited, even to people who might not necessarily sit in the audience like this, but they will be sitting somewhere else and watching. So it's very important for us to have these things. This is in Honduras. I finished doing a concert in their biggest jazz nightclub, got to share my testimony. The next thing, I get invited by the largest church of Honduras. Everything was going so well for me. And suddenly I get an invitation to play in this small little home called the Mary Mundo home. Now these are girls who have been rescued from 12 to 17 who have been raped. Now for me as an artist, I'm only looking for big stages, for big places. And when they came and heard my testimony in the morning, they said, Benny, can you please come in the afternoon? I said, oh, you just want to somehow find an excuse. I asked them, do you have a sound system? They said, no. I said, oh, I'm sorry, my guitar needs a sound system. I cannot play. So a nice, genuine excuse. But God knows the heart. And suddenly he said, Benny, I want you to go and give your best performance ever. And I was amazed how I could easily forget God and only look for fame. When God convicted my heart, I said, God, it is so important for me to have the right perspective in what I do. And as a result, joy was brought to these girls because they could never go to a concert, but I could carry the world's first bongo guitar into this home and play for these girls for 2 hours and bring joy into their lives. It is so important that let your purpose not be associated with how much money you get and how much fame you get. Be true to God who created you. What is your purpose? Sometimes we are scared to even share Christ because we might lose our jobs, our friends. But I'll tell you, He's eternal life. Just ask my wife to come. We're going to close by playing this song called I Want Jesus in Your Heart. And truly, that's what this song is, and that's what we want the world to know, that I want Jesus in your heart. And this is my wife. Her name is Zan Benny. We got married last year. And hope this song will rekindle the fire.
Could have one wish, I know just what I'd like to find. And if I could have one dream come true before my eyes, more than a pot of gold, more than a pathway to the stars, more than anything I know, I want Jesus in your heart. If I could paint a picture in my mind of what I'd like to see, if I could take you once inside my deepest dreams, more than a treasure's glow, more than a comet traveling far, more than anything I know, I want Jesus in your heart. He's more than all the world can give when He truly comes to live in your heart. Why do you try to search for more when He's what you're looking for in your heart? So if I could have one wish, I know just what I'd like to find. And if I could have one dream come true before my eyes, more than a pot of gold, more than a pathway to the stars, more than anything I know, I want Jesus. I pray Jesus in your heart.